Town square is all decked out in Halloween decorations, getting ready for the Halloween party that will be starting in just a couple of hours. But frankly, something much more dark, much more sinister, much more terrifying than this Halloween party is happening on this day. Yes, today's exploration brings us into Liberty Square, where we sadly will view the last instances of the Muppets. The Muppets are getting evicted from the Magic Kingdom. For the last 2 years, the Muppets have been coming out of these windows behind me to tell us great moments in history, but only the American parts. There's been no shortage of the Muppets within the Disney parks, but Liberty Square seems like an inspired choice to feature the Muppets. But it actually is sort of connected to the other presence that the Muppets have in the park elsewhere. If you think about it, the Muppets used to have presence in a lot of other places. I can think of the Epcot Muppet Mobile Lab, which was awesome. And they're in Hollywood Studios with Muppet Vision 3D, and Muppet Vision 3D ends with Sam Eagle presenting his Salute to America, a glorious 3-hour finale. But he ends up having to shorten it.
Sam? Are you about ready?
Yes, it's a glorious 3-hour finale.
You got a minute and a half.
So it's kind of cool that in the last couple of years, the Muppets have been able to sort of explore that patriotism here in the heart of Liberty Square, right above the windows of the Hall of Presidents. This crane here does not want to miss the final shows of Muppets either, and who can blame him? Look at him. He's staked his spot. He's ready. He's ready for the show to start. Aren't we all, though? I think one of the main issues with this show is that it's not really, it's sort of a show that you stumble upon. It's not one that you really plan to go and stop and see. I think as they're going through all these sort of entertainment cuts within the park as we enter the slow season and get ready for a new wave of live entertainment within the parks, that unfortunately this one ended up being on the chopping block. So the Muppets come and take to the windows here and tell two different stories of the early days of America's revolutionary and colonial history. That'd be the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. It doesn't really have its own, you know, like focused venue, but I think that's really true to what the Muppets were. They just sort of popped up wherever they were, and they were able to put on a show, put on a presentation, and I just love how they intervene in the way that they do. It is kind of cool to just sort of walk around the corner and then see Kermit the Frog, Sam Eagle, Fozzie Bear, you know, the whole slew of Muppet characters up doing what they do best, putting on a show. Now, I am a firm admirer of the Muppets, and so I always love being able to come and experience the Muppet presence in the park. Muppet Vision 3D, truly believe it's the best 3D show that Disney has ever produced. I don't know when they stopped doing the Muppet Mobile Lab, but that was something really cool that they were doing in Epcot for a time. And for a little bit of time, the Muppets actually had their own actual stage show, which was a little off-putting because the characters were presented in ways that we never really seen them before, sort of life-size walk-around figures. But really, that's why I love this form of the Muppets in the park, because it's the Muppets as you really know them. They're not on screen, they're not in life-size characters, they're the Muppets as you see them, just as you've seen them on the Muppet Show, in the movies and everything. It's weird, the first time we saw this show, I was looking up in the windows, and you got Sam Eagle, and you got Gonzo, and Miss Piggy, and of course, Kermit the Frog, and I had weird, like, butterflies in my stomach, almost getting, like, starstruck, because it really was like seeing them, you know, in person. So once again, I hope this is not the end of the Muppets within the park. It'd be awesome if they could get their own venue, if, you know, they could really expand. I know it doesn't make any sense between Star Tours and Galaxy's Edge, but if they could really expand that Muppets land that they have, that Muppet section that they have in Disney Hollywood Studios, I think that would be the most coolest thing. If they could, you know, Muppet Vision 3D, that's solid. That, I know it's old, but I love it and I don't want it to go anywhere. But if they do want to do something with that theater, they should repurpose it, you know, to like an actual, you know, like the actual Muppet Theater, the Muppet Show, and they could have the Muppets do their own show right before you. And it's sort of also an end to, you know, like a unique form of entertainment within the park, and that is puppeteering. You know, they're doing it to a voice track. They have the iconic voices that you've been hearing for the last few years representing these characters. But it's really the puppeteers that bring them to life. Never as I'm watching them do I think, you know, that's just a puppet. No, it's a living Muppet. It's a living creature, and that's because of the skilled artistry that is in the hands that is controlling these puppets. And so I really hope that art form of puppetry can continue within the park in some capacity. The Muppets really have sort of like an ebb and flow history within the park, as a lot of projects have been greenlit or visualized, but never really come to fruition. One of my favorite ideas was that they were going to do a Muppet version of the Great Movie Ride. And that would be cool as well. If you don't have the live performers, have the animatronics that can really bring them to life in that way. You know, those Statler and Waldorf animatronics up on the balcony. Those are phenomenal. Can you imagine a whole ride like that? Can you imagine a whole ride where the Muppets are recreating iconic movie scenes? It'd be hilarious. I get giddy thinking about it, and I get disappointed thinking that it never came to fruition. But what I'm saying is, Disney has a great property in the Muppets, and I really hope they continue to invest in them and they keep misfiring. And you know, they had the show, they have these Disney Plus series coming out. I really hope that the Muppets just strike a chord in these next few years, and that Muppet presence can expand in the park. And believe me, it is so easy for me to tell Disney what I think is the best thing to do. So easy.
Oh wow, what's the show?
Great moments in history with the Muppets.
Oh.
It's the Muppets with another great moment in American history! Come closer, all ye people, gather round and listen well. My friends and I have some of history's greatest tales to tell. Your hair will stand on end with all the history and such.
Unless, of course, you're bald like me, in which case, not so much.
Oh, hi there, Sam. It's Sam Eagle, everybody. Hey, tell us, Sam, what great American story are we sharing today?
Today we shall salute the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
Ah, a great story indeed. The ride of Paul Revere, a fateful night that saved the day. He warned the founding fathers.
But the British were on their way.
In their red coats with their muskets, they were mean and scary too.
But we won't speak about all that. This is wholesome, through and through.
Right, let's bring out some friends to help us. Hey guys, that's your cue.
Great moments in history. Great moments in history.
And this one features more. And here's what you will take away in all your minds and hearts.
Great moments in history, but only the American.
Great moments in history,
but just the American parts.
Woohoo!
Historian of Liberty Square, I am honored to present to you a dramatic recitation of The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
Hello, Paul Revere here.
It is what? Paul Revere.
What?
Oh, good heavens.
Piggy, it's Paul Revere, not Paula.
But it's a starring role, so surely it must be meant for moi.
Paul Revere was a man.
Correction, he was not just a man. He was a son of liberty.
No problem. I'll hang 1 by land, and 2 by sea.
Great.
And 3 by monorail,
Fozzie.
and 4 by pogo stick,
No,
5 by
Fozzie.
unicycle,
Fozzie.
6 by registered mail.
Fozzie!
Help!
Oh, Fozzie.
Fozzie, are you okay?
Yeah, the lanterns lightened my fall.
Now, Paul Revere upon his horse did ride. Oh, where is the horse?
Here you go, Kermit.
Gonzo, you were supposed to get a real horse, not a stick horse.
The real horse got sick.
Oh, is he a little horse? Does he need some cough stirrup? Do I know funny?
I have had enough of this kind of nonsense.
What kind of nonsense would you prefer?
Would you get out of here? Paul Revere, upon his stick horse, did ride, and by the light of the silvery moon he cried, "Oh, what is that music?" What? By the light.
Not the dark, but the light.
Of the silver.
Stop it. Not the sun, but the moon.
I want to stop it.
Not the fork, but the
Not have
spoon.
marked this historic moment with this singing.
Acha.
Piggy, what are you doing?
I made some changes in the play.
Well, you can't just write yourself into the play. That's not how it works.
Oh, okay. Then let's see how this works.
What?
I'd say that song was a hit.
The redcoats are coming! The redcoats are coming!
Where are the redcoats?
They're coming!
Everyone! You are ruining this great moment in history! Herman, if this chaos continues, the show is history!
I think you're right, Bobby.
How are we going to end it?
Like this.
Hooray! Great moments in history, the ride of Paul Revere. Great moments in history, you saw it all right here. Great moments in history, great moments in history, great moments in history. But only the American great moments in history, but just the American parts.
Woo! Whoa!
Everybody, we got
Get in!
Make sure all you people gather around and listen well. I've got a satchel full of history's greatest tales to tell. Your hair will stand on end with all the history and such.
Unless, of course, you're bald like me, in which case, not so much.
Hey Sam, insanity to everybody? Tell us Sam, what great American story are we sharing today?
Today we shall salute the Declaration of Independence.
Ah, great story indeed.
That's right, Sam.
And as the official Liberty Square historian, I have drafted tributes to every important event in American history. JJ, please remind everyone which great moment we are sharing today.
The Declaration of Independence.
Excellent! I read it every night before bed, and so should you.
Roll call, Thomas Jefferson.
Hi-ho, Jefferson here.
John Adams.
Hey, that's me!
And the highly quotable Benjamin Franklin.
Ah, Ben Franklin here. A penny saved is a penny earned. And if at first you don't succeed, then skydiving is definitely not the sport for you.
And there is much debate.
Oh,
Right,
debate.
Debate.
Point of view.
Opinion.
Says you.
Argument.
Point.
Counterpoint.
Legal point. I'll take 2 hot dogs with extra mayo.
Boo! No King George! 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 I protest! This is not historically accurate. The king was not at the Congress. You got a bear playing Ben Franklin. And doing a great job at it. Let's hear it for the bear, huh?
Yeah!
Go Fozzie! Go Fozzie! Go Fozzie! Go Fozzie! Continue.
Wait, what? I lose?
Well, sure, Piggy. You see, in the American Revolution, England loses, which means the king, or the queen, loses.
Excuse me? It is I, Georgette Washington, and I cannot tell a lie. I look fabulous!
Brother.
Piggy,
Oh boy!
Nice outfit.
Enough of this nonsense! If we...
okay, I, Thomas Jefferson, will write the Declaration, but I'm going to need everyone's help.
Let's start with a list of demands, shall we?
Like the Declaration says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are
All together now.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Sam, why are you crying? I thought that was pretty good.
It wasn't good. It was glorious.
Yeah! Way to go, everyone!
Hey Sam, I guess now you're the town crier.
Just ring the bell.
Let freedom ring! moments in history, the 4th day of July. Great moments in history, we said King George goodbye. Great moments in history, great moments in history, great moments in history. Great moments in history, but just the American hearts.
Thanks, everyone. We couldn't have done it without you. And to England, no hard feelings. You're still one of our best friends.
Thank you all for joining us today. You know,
Closing the doors. Taking away the flags one last time. The end. And so it is complete. The Muppets, at least for now, are gone from the Magic Kingdom. But I'm hopeful. Like I said over and over at the beginning, I'm hopeful they'll return. As far as the Muppets, whether they're here in the Magic Kingdom or in Hollywood Studios or wherever they end up within the parks, they will always have a firm and special place right here. Well, that's an Epcot shirt. What I meant to say was my heart. Our collective hearts, if you will. And so, with that, we'll wrap up our time here. We saw the Muppets, we saw their last hurrah. And if we know the Muppets, they're gonna spread out, they're gonna go their separate ways, and a glorious, glorious reunion show will soon be impending, and hopefully it happens here. And if it does, we'll be there. So make sure you're subscribed, and until next time, we'll see you in the happy place. Bye.